and welcome to this midi-author session on SecureX and the evolution of security orchestration, automation, and response. My name is Hilda Arteaga, and I am a community manager of the Cisco community and the host of today's event. So first of all, I would like to thank all of you for joining us, and also thanking Aaron and Omar and welcome them to this session. We are actually really thankful and honored to collaborate with them in this midi-authors event. Well, before we start, I would like to guide you through this kind of event and let you know how we manage it. Firstly, on this special event, you will be able to learn not only from these top security experts, but also asking them your personal questions. Along the session, you will learn about the evolution of security orchestration, automation and response, and SecureX. In addition, they will cover some key content of their security book. And actually, for today's session, we will start with a very short interview to the authors, so we get to know more about them and their career path and how they are collaborating together in these publications. And then we will talk to these security matters and experts. Remember that during this presentation, you can submit your questions to the experts and they will be answered either verbally or on the chat. Also, we have a great surprise for you and for all our attendees. We will be giving away 2 copies of the book of this event. So how about you would like to have a copy of this signed by the authors? How can you win? Well, it's very easy. Please stay with us and bear, and we will select the lucky winners almost at the end of this session. And well, let's get started. So Omar and Aaron, thank you for joining us again to one of these kind of events. It's always a pleasure to collaborate with savvy and knowledgeable experts like you, besides of very good people and men. You're well known not only for being Cisco Press authors, principal engineers, and top security experts. And there are indeed many things that we can mention about you, and I'm sure we can talk for hours and hours about them. So this is actually an adding of the recording of the event, since we had some issues with WebEx. And we will be adding some of the answers by the experts. However, I'd like to let you know how these guys met each other. They actually met each other because of different security products that we have in place on Cisco. And actually, another thing that Omar Santos just mentioned is that the first time he went to an interview to Cisco, he brought a book that he wrote. And when he brought that book, he was on the interview and he was so proud and that's showing the book. And then the interviewer just mentioned to him, okay, that's good. What else do you have? In that moment, Omar just faced out with the reality that writing a book was not only the only thing to do. And he stopped writing books for quite a long time because he was kind of like in a deception because of that experience. And now he has over 20 publications. And the way he started to collaborate with Aaron, it was because the different security products that have been having place in Cisco. And actually, Aaron states that Omar is just quite a legend when you are having some issues in security that just go and report it to Omar. So the following question will be answered actually by the experts. And it goes like this. Why would you recommend the security part and what kind of things would you like to this part?
Probably I recommend to people, right? Since security is so broad, we're going to be talking here today about some things related to security operations, right? So that's extremely important and on demand right now. But there are many other areas, right? So that question is fairly broad, rather to give you a silver bullet, which I don't think that you're going to have, is basically at least getting the fundamentals of what are the security problems. Recognize that you will never be an expert in every single security dilemma because security touches every technology. It will touch the technologies that will pass way faster than you can actually scale. And now I'm losing my voice, so that's a sign. So that's one thing. The second one is that in some scenarios, you will find yourself that, I guess by osmosis, you start with one concentration, and I'm going to pick security operations and incident response, right, as an example, which is a starting point for many people in their careers, right? You become an analyst in a security operations center, or you become, an engineer from an infosec team, and then you're tasked to do other things, either threat hunting or to analyze malware, and then you start to develop skills around probably reverse engineering, right? Or in some cases, actually, you don't want to deal with that thing that much, and you get a little bit more inclined to simulating what an attacker can actually do, right? Whether it's what we nowadays call purple teaming, somewhat of an adversarial technique and ethical hacking at the same time, or you want to actually go, really deep into exploit development and so on. So that's only scratching the surface in some of the technical abilities, and of course, there's a whole bunch of things like compliance and governance and risk management and third-party integration. I mean, just cyber law, for example. There's so many different things, right? So there's no one single answer to that. But what I always recommend is for you to recognize what is actually going to drive you, not so much because of a job, but what passion you actually have. And starting with some of them, they will require some significant investment on the underlying technology. So, for example, if you want to be a reverse engineer and do reversing of potentially a malware that is affecting a Linux kernel, you probably have to be an expert or very versed in assembly language, C, etc. So it's not like you can just turn on a knob and then just become an expert on that. So you have to actually think about that progression, that career path, and everything. And then the last one is, find a mentor. It's easier said than done, especially mentors, are busy all the time. But, this is actually a field that I strongly recommend for you to find a mentor that has gone through the pain. I don't know. I talked a lot. So, Aaron.
No, I think we're very much in agreement there. It's another area where Omar and I have always crossed paths at Cisco too, is that we in the certification realm, we end up advising on a lot of the same certifications, and then ended up, creating a lot of the, realizing that there was a need for the creation for the cyber ops world, because the operations aspect of it was sort of missing. And but from what he said around, finding something that you're really passionate about, that you enjoy, and then going down that area and not trying to be an expert on everything is something I would echo highly. And don't feel like you're stuck in a certain area, because you can even just in the cybersecurity world, even just in security, there's so much you can get into and pivot and build off of what you were doing and move into adjacent areas and go into a new area, building off of a skill that you used to have. If I find myself now, I'm spending so much more time in application security than I ever spent before, right? And it's not that the network security knowledge is in any way, shape, or form lost, or that I'm not using it on a daily basis even. It's that you're building on top of it, because, while I'm literally sitting in a REST API, actually today it wasn't even a REST API. Today it was a GraphQL API. Today talking about something, but we're going back and pulling from network security knowledge in relation to it, right? So there's so many areas that you can specialize in this industry that, and none of it would be a waste, right? But trying to master all of it at once would be insane. It would be, an exercise in futility to try and get it all at once. And I actually give my own 22-year-old daughter, who's a computer science major, right? I give her the same advice, right? Don't try and learn everything at once, right? Let's, give yourself some focus and realize that you have a career ahead of you where you can always grow and build on top of what you've learned and grow into other areas.
Yeah, and I noticed that the question in the Q&A mentioned ethical hacking, so I completely missed that, and I'll be very, very brief, but let me actually start just addressing the question directly. So my apologies. I thought that was a security overall. So, but for ethical hacking, you these are the things that at least from my side, I have prioritized whenever I got started with ethical hacking, right? So you have to have the foundation skills. You have to have basic networking skills. You have to have basic Linux skills. You have to know a little bit of coding. You don't have to be a developer, but it will actually help dramatically if you have some scripting skills and so on. So then once you have the foundations, now what, right? One of the things that besides certifications, besides curriculums that you have there, the way that at least I learn is by doing, right? And things like CTFs, so that means capture the flag events, right? And that's basically practical challenges that you can participate for free. Many resources around the internet, you can do from VulnHub to Hack the Box, Try Hack Me. CTFtime.org has a list of events that are basically now on a weekly basis, right? That you can practice your skills, right? So once you actually have those type of basics and you feel comfortable, you can even participate. Aaron mentioned bug bounties. That's one thing that a lot of people actually go into it just to get started, right? Now that is easier said than done. If you're just getting started, you're gonna be kind of competing against thousands of other people doing that. But go also and practice beyond the basics. Look at how popular Active Directory is. Web applications, as Aaron mentioned. That's something that I really enjoy. Is web application hacking. You can specialize in wireless. You can specialize in IoT. You can specialize in different areas that are a little bit more advanced exploit development. But you have to get the underlying skills. Don't go and think that ethical hacking is just running tools and getting shells from systems. If not understanding the protocols, collecting packet captures, or truly understanding how things work so you can break them. But anyways, I can talk a lot, so I'm going to shut up for now.
No. That's great. It's a great point. I actually echoed it in the response there too, so that it will be recorded in the Q&A, because those you will learn more in those capture the flag events than you ever thought possible. I can't echo that enough. And continuing them. So I can tell you that the skill set, like the basic skills, and like the I don't think change that much, but the actual tools that you use and the way that you go about it, I think definitely shifts over time, and you get rusty. So like any other tool or skill, when you don't use it, you lose it. So I can tell you that if I find myself not doing a CTF for a while, when I go back into them, I am so unbelievably slow. And when I find that I've been 2-3 years ago, when I was doing a lot of SANS events, right, and I was hitting some CTFs on every couple of weeks, I was probably doing some other capture the flag event, and it was just like muscle memory even. Right, certain things were just really probably. I started to feel a little more like I was playing in Omar's sandbox more often. Right, things were a lot sharper in that world. Right, you're doing it a lot more often. You're just that skill is a lot more at your fingertips and a lot more at the ready. Right, it's just those things are fantastic for that. The more you can do those, the more those skills really build on themselves and stay sharp, and you just learn a lot in those events, for sure.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Sharon and Omar. That concludes this part of the interview. And now let's get on into SecureX and to the presentation that you guys have. So, yeah, I will pass on this into Omar, so you can start talking more about security orchestration, automation, and response.
Yeah, I'll be very brief on this one. So this concept of SOAR, originally, whenever I saw it, several years ago, I said, okay, this is kind of fun. This is a marketing term. It was originally developed by Gartner and adopted. And however, we have been talking about this not as a SOAR acronym, but the need of it for many decades, I will say, right? So traditionally, security operations centers, incident response teams, different security teams use systems like we call it security information and event management, or the SIEMs of the world, right? Those are platforms that have been used for many years to monitor the network and, for incident response. The challenge with those is that they were standalone systems. They will not communicate with others, or they will not integrate with, third party, especially if you buy a SIEM from one vendor. In some cases, they accepted the logs and they can parse the logs from different vendors, but they will not take any type of incident response actions or allow you to do that with other ones, right? Now, if you move to the next slide, right, then this concept evolved, right? So SOAR stands, for security orchestration, automation, and response, right? That we already got that. From the orchestration perspective, right, since these were different tools, there was no proper way for them to integrate, right? There was no, even if they had some APIs in the future, in the past, it was not well adopted, and they also didn't have any way to establish a repeatable and enforceable measure, for that. So yes, there was a lot of runbook automation, a lot of playbook automation that they can do for that single SIEM, but it didn't even allow you to actually, orchestrate to say, okay, if I'm seeing this type of event, I need to collect this other type of information from these other systems and do this type of orchestration, or even engage people. So not only the systems, but also send notifications to potentially, some tier 2 or tier 3 individuals within their company, or integrate with ticketing systems like ServiceNow and, many others out there for engaging with the IT department. So that's what the orchestration part comes in. If you go to the next slide, in automation, is actually to basically do an automation of those playbooks and runbooks to fuel the way that, even if it's in some cases partial and in some other cases it's actually fully automated, it is eliminating the mundane actions that have to be performed by analysts, by junior analysts, or even tier 2 analysts in a security operations center, right? Now that has evolved a lot throughout time, and that's where Cisco actually started to invest a lot of time and money, right, in different technologies, and we're into the position now that Aaron is actually going to go and talk about that we develop an ecosystem. I will not call it a system by itself. It's an ecosystem and a series of platforms that is called SecureX that allows you to go beyond the traditional SOAR as well. So not only the SIEM, right, but the SOAR. And the reason for that is because, and Aaron is going to go into that, right, is because the ability for you to even integrate third-party applications. It's not only Cisco products, but third-party applications to do something to be faster to respond to incidents. So with that said, I'll pass the ball the floor to Aaron, and he's going to go over, SecureX in a little bit more detail.
To add a little bit to what Omar was saying, to add a little more color, you have these incident responders, right? So security incident responders, and these are typically not the cheapest people in the cheapest professionals that you have in your organization, and they have these playbooks or run books, right, that they're following, right, and so that they have to respond, right. So you've got these expensive resources, people like Omar who have this level of expertise that an organization's trying to say, how do I stretch this? How do I get more out of this this investment that I've made into these humans, right? To keep them focused on the doing the tasks that the humans were really, really necessary for. And so some of the best ones, so I mean, Omar is phenomenal at scripting, right, and automating lots of his own tasks, right? And so, and a lot of people will automate tasks over and over and over again. How does an organization invest in things like that? And that's where, that's where these products like SOARs really came into play, is saying, how do I, as a company, invest in something from an enterprise level, right? Can orchestrate and automate, right, those playbooks or run books of the more senior people so that a more junior person can start to run those books, right, and get it to the point that it can be handed off to the senior person to finish off an investigation or mark the investigation as benign, or, you know, as that it didn't need to be handed off to the more senior person, so that more senior person can focus only on the ones that are really need their attention, right? And so, you know, this was a lot of where, or why companies were investing so much money in that market, and why that market took off so much. Again, is just trying to stretch those dollars, right? From a Cisco perspective, right, one of the things that, you know, we have this large portfolio of security products, and I was actually really shocked when our general manager for security, his name is G. Rittenhouse, and he actually came and spoke to us one day, and he said, you know, we actually have, I think the total number was 84 security products within our security portfolio in Cisco. You know, people don't realize it, but Cisco's known for being networking mostly, right? But we're actually one of the largest security companies within the entire technology space, and people just don't recognize it because that's not really what we're mostly known for. But I mean, how many of you would have guessed that we actually have 80? It was over 80. I think the number was 84. 84 individual products, 84 different brands, right, of things within our security portfolio, right? You think about, you know, Cisco ASA, Cisco Firepower, Cisco ICE, Cisco AnyConnect, Cisco Network Visibility Module, Cisco, right, StealthWatch, which has 2 different product lines within it and then some, right? You've got StealthWatch Enterprise, StealthWatch Cloud, right? And we had, you know, we just acquired a company called Thousand Eyes, and we have Duo Security, and so on and so forth. And companies are making these huge investments in Cisco, and they're just saying, look, we have these Cisco products and lots of them, and what we need is not to keep investing in more and more products, but what we really need is something along those lines of what we wanted to get out of a SOAR, right? Which is this: make things more simple, right? Make these products work together easier. Give us this architecture that you've been talking to us for years and years about, right? Make it so that when we have multiple Cisco things, that they all work together well, that we can orchestrate them well together, and that we can get visibility of everything that's happening across our entire Cisco product line, as well as the ecosystem that Omar was talking about, as well as all the other products that integrate with Cisco security products, right? And let's get something, right, that works better together, right, when we make this investment in Cisco. And everyone knows Cisco is not going to be the cheapest thing out there, but darn it, it better work right, for that premium. And I'm hopefully I'm saying the right things there when I mention Cisco and a premium, but that's how I view it. And so this is where this thing called SecureX comes out, right? This is a cloud-native security platform, right? It is an integrated platform where all of our products, those 84 products, are coming together to be delivered as a platform instead of 84 separate individual security products, right? I like to think of it as, you know, when you go to like Microsoft Azure, right? You go to Azure, and then within there you see the function, like virtual machines, or you see functions. You don't see, okay, I'm going to Azure, and then I'm going to go to a product within Azure, or I have to know that other brand. And you're seeing Cisco rebrand its entire security presence around this, right? And that's actually where SecureX comes in. Right, it's this platform, secure and X, meaning like whatever, and that this platform is bringing everything together right? Similar to what was happening in the SOAR world, right? So you get this common dashboard that's customizable to give you a centralized visibility, right? Trying to keep things simple, right? And I'll show you some of this with the ribbon and so on, right? With hundreds of pre-built and custom integrations that are available to you with our huge ecosystem of third parties as well as the Cisco products that integrate with it, right? And that Cisco threat response product that's been there, which is, look, you have all these Cisco products. Allow us to show you across those Cisco products what your threat landscape is so that you can respond to it. And let's provide you this drag and drop orchestration, right, with automation abilities, right, to respond to like a SOAR type functionality. I don't want to say it's a SOAR because it's not a SOAR. SOAR does a little bit more. But this has actually replaced the concept of SOAR for many businesses that are out there, right? And they said, I don't need to go and spend all this money on a SOAR now because, right, SecureX, which is free, basically, right? If you have Cisco security products, you get SecureX at no extra charge, right? And you get all this orchestration function and all that as well, right? At no additional charge, right? So you get this centralized security dashboard like you're seeing here with the ability to see all of your available applications as they're not just Cisco, but third party as well, right? Right here, you can click on the integrations tab and see all the available integrations that are there for you, right? You get live coverage on the right-hand side to say, here's some news that's happening right now, as well as if you've got like the right tier within AMP for endpoints, for instance, right? You've got your managed threat defense happening where they're actually looking and curating the alerts that are coming, and it's managed and says, oh, this is a real threat. And our incident responders, right, our Talos team has said, you've got this going on in your environment, and we've curated this even further and said, this is a really bad problem, and here's what's happening, right? Those feeds are going to come up right at the top and say, go examine this even further, right? This is a real live threat. Go after it right now, right? Those types of feeds are happening on the right-hand side, right? But it's giving you that unified dashboard and this orchestration capability right there, right? Just like you would have had in a SOAR, right? So the ability to go in and say, all right, when an alert comes in, run this playbook, right? Just like Omar was talking about with security orchestration and SOARs, right? So, and again, the architecture of this is this centralized dashboard where it's not a SIEM, right? We're not trying to replace, Splunk or, QRadar or whatever, you've invested in for your SIEM. We're not storing all of your events in a centralized cloud somewhere, right? What we are doing is bringing in the intelligence from the products that you've invested in, whether they're Cisco or not, through what are known as relay modules, right? So through these APIs, say you have this integration from your third party, and that integration says bring the intelligence in to enrich this visibility, right, that we're being able to provide in this centralized dashboard, right, which can then also have the triggers, right, for that orchestration capability that we have built into SecureX, right? And then when it's a Cisco product, we do have this what's known as a ribbon framework, which allows for the same, case books for investigations and the same common UI and response framework to be available across everything within that same product portfolio set so that we have the same experience and investigation capabilities. Right? And then just to flip over to a little bit of seeing it live, right? This is it live, right? And with it, we have some common services, and some of those common services are things like orchestration, but, right, here it is, right? We have some dashboard functionality to say, look, here's some incoming mail and show me all the threats. I've had 19 threats, right? You can drill in and start to see what are these threats that are coming in and who's sending them and drill in to see who the recipients are and the IPs and start, initiating blocks right from there. And you can create custom dashboards and have the dashboards mean something to you as the investigator, and each person can do it. You can cross-launch and log directly into the individual products through single sign-on. Oops, except my sign-on is timed out. But cross-launch into the products and all from this, single page, right? Do your investigations and looking into malware, but also go into the integration modules and see what you've already configured, but also see what else is available from, third parties as well as Cisco, right? So, VirusTotal, Splunk, right? It's not just the Cisco products, but also, non-Cisco products as well, right? So if I wanted to add new integrations, right, we've got, you can start to see and hear, look, Gigamon, Google Chronicle, Microsoft's Graph, right? Have I been pwned? Pulse Drive, it just keeps going. So, all these different integrations plus others, right? So, and then there's the orchestration. And of course, my orchestration's breaking right now because I'm trying to do it live. So the demo gods have broken for me. But in the orchestration piece, which did not work for me right now, that's actually where we can actually run playbooks and build our own run books and say, this is what I want to have happen when a certain email, would come in from or a certain event were to occur, right? I want this response to happen and so forth, right? That would be what would happen here if this particular account I was using actually had that set up. So, I'll log in as another one and share it out in a second. Anything else you want to add to that, Omar? Because I've been talking for quite a bit.
No, I think you just summarized it very well, and the importance that, this is not an ecosystem for only Cisco products themselves, is the integration of what is actually needed, recognizing that even though we have the plethora of products that you mentioned before, right, is beyond products. It's integrations with things like you're highlighting Shodan right now in there, right? Places somewhere as part of your incident response or as part of your security operations process, you have to interact and gather additional information, right? You can also take advantage of the APIs and the different integrations that we have here to create your own applications as well, right? And even if you're a vendor and you're listening to us in here, also feel free to engage with us to add you into this type of integrations, right? And one other thing other than products is ticketing systems, the ability for you to actually engage people and take some actionable automation, right? But as a matter of fact, what I'm going to try to do is I was trying to type and answer some of the questions that are in the Q&A panel, and since I have the floor, might as well actually I will just answer them right now. So one of the questions is, what is the difference between NetFlow and IPFix? Why does the GUI on Cisco products still have NetFlow and no IPFix if IPFix is a newer technology? So I think that you already know the answer between the NetFlow and IPFix, but let me actually answer it in there. I think that the person is Osita. So NetFlow is a technology that Cisco actually created. There's several versions of NetFlow. You probably have heard of, version 9, which is very, very popular still nowadays, and flexible NetFlow is a permutation of that. There's also, there's an RFC for NetFlow. However, there was no true vendor-neutral implementation in the industry, and that's why IPFix actually came in, right? Like, Juniper will have their own called S-Flow, and, many different vendors will have their own implementation. But at the end of the day, it's actually how to collect network metadata from a high level without the need to actually collect a full packet capture to see what's actually happening. Most of the IPFix implementation is based on version 9 of NetFlow. So a lot of vendors, even if you look at StealthWatch and with Cisco, which used to be a company called Linecope that we acquired, they support both NetFlux and IPFix. In some cases, yes, in documentation you will hear the support for NetFlow a lot, but at the end of the day, that support for IPFix has been there for quite some time, right? Quite some time. Now, another question that came in was, what book would you recommend before CyberOps Professional OCG to become available? I guess I can address that one because I actually am the author of that professional, so I am actually writing that book right now. What I will say is that look at the blueprint, right? Even outside of books, what I strongly recommend is one for you to definitely become familiar with the foundation, concepts of security. That's a given. In the professional version, unlike the associate, we already assume that you actually have the knowledge that the associate level actually has, even though you can skip that, just like any other professional certification that we have at Cisco. You can skip the CCNA or associate level certification. It is a given that you have to have that knowledge, so definitely start from that. The second one is also go beyond just the book. If not, try to familiarize yourself on what are the things that a security operations center needs to operate. We're actually talking about something right now that is SOAR and the integration of things, APIs, automation of runbooks and playbooks, and so on. All those are things that you have to actually know, not only in definition, but in practice, right? So again, go a little bit beyond the book. There's no single book that I will probably recommend until that becomes available. And Aaron actually just answered one related to business adverse and cloud-based products. And then the last one that I see there is which version of Python is in workflow. I think that was part of a workflow that you were.
I was showing I had orchestration up, and I was showing one of the actual playbooks to take a forensic snapshot and then isolate an endpoint. So, and I believe what was actually being shown is agnostic. So I think so. I don't think it actually mattered, but I can find out for sure.
Yeah, and right now, most, not only Cisco but most vendors out there, we're focusing on Python 3, right? And as Aaron mentioned, a lot of these integrations, whether it's to an API, whether it's SecureX, to an individual product, we're talking about SecureX in here. It is a matter of actually for you as a developer to integrate with those applications to kind of pick the version that you're gonna create your own scripts and so on, right? What I'll strongly recommend is that you actually use a 3, Python 3, not focus on 2.7, whether you're actually using a very basic, package like request or any other, anybody actually should be using right now Python 3X. 3738 will be my recommendation. But I don't see any other questions coming in.
Hold on, I think I just got the ball back, so I can show it real quick.
Okay.
Let me see. Let me go back to WebEx. Okay, let me share this one more time. So what I did is I went into one of the playbooks, just to show an example. This is one that can be called that based on based on any event, right? So in this particular event, we're saying basically it's just running through a bunch of actions, right? Which is first to start off with which observable type was provided. If it was the observable was based on an IP address, a host name, an AMP GUID, or if it was something else, just go next. right? And it says, do we already have the AMP GUID? We need the AMP GUID because that globally unique identifier from the AMP cloud is what we're going to actually use to take all of our actions on it, right? So using that AMP GUID, we're going to tell Orbital to go ahead and take a forensic snapshot, right? And then we're going to enable AMP host isolation and then end this runbook, right? This is just one of those types of, one example of a workflow or a runbook that I happen to have in my orchestration. So versus this, the demo account I had, this one's actually in my actual specific SecureX. Like this is one of my demo accounts, which broke, unfortunately. Now it's working. and this was my own personal SecureX, right? But so here's that demo one again, right? So you'll see all these different runbooks in here. It's like, delete emails that match, when emails matching this URL, right? See lots of people created a lot of demo workflows in here just to see. Just to see all the different automations that you can actually complete within this orchestration tool. Okay, and I will give the ball back so you can submit your questions. There was a question about the SecureX support third-party security products. Absolutely. So SecureX has a large number of third-party integrations out of the box already, and continues to add them constantly. Okay. So the answer to that question is yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Aaron and Omar. I don't know if you would like to add something just to close down the session.
I think from my side, first, thank you for your time, and I know that we have gone pretty fast into some topics that require hours of demonstrations and explanations and everything else. Feel free to continue to participate in the support forums and all the resources that we actually can make available. And please keep in touch, right? I think that most of you know where to reach out to us. But again, thank you.
And I just want to add a little bit more about the third-party products as well. Even with that orchestrator, the orchestration tool that's built into SecureX was originally designed as part of Cisco's cloud portfolio. It wasn't even originally part of our security portfolio. We kind of acquired it internally. And so understand, you can do so much with that. You can spin up workloads in the cloud. You can do almost anything. If it's got an open API, you can integrate with it. You should not be limited to just, security products or products that are already integrated even into SecureX already. We've integrated with nearly anything already. So we had hired one person to create a bunch of out-of-the-box workflows, and he created so there are a bunch of out-of-the-box workflows that come with SecureX. And we've been hiring more people as part of our ecosystem team to create and work with the third-party, vendors that are part of our ecosystem, which includes hundreds of security partners, right, to create and prove out other, ready-to-go workflows and things like that. So it's constantly improving. There's more and more workflows for the orchestrator coming out constantly, but you can create your own all the time, anytime you want.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Aaron, and thank you very much, Omar. This closed on this session. So now we're going with what we promised, actually. Before going with the winners of these books, As I Never Do, I would like to share with you some of the extra resources and references. These are some of the publications, the latest publications that Omar and Aaron, they have. And the latest one, the Cisco CyberOps Associate. And maybe next time we're going to do a session about that, Omar, in future, about this CyberOps Associate certification guide. Awesome. You can find all the details in the chat. And well, now it goes to this. Congratulations. The two winners I just have posted them on the chat. And we have firstly Gus Leon. Gus Leon, you are a winner of one of these signed books. And we have Robert Brezina in Czech Republic. So one goes to Americas and one goes to Europe. So congratulations. So we will contact you directly on the Cisco community in the email that you just used to register to this event. And well, for the rest of the people, we'd like to thank you for everything, for being with us today with Omar and with Aaron. We hope you have learned a lot from here. And please help us out to submit a survey. And we have actually great things for you. If you submit the survey, you can have a special discount, 40 or 50% discount on any Cisco Press title, book, video course, or anything else by using the code SOAR. I'm just placing the code just on the chat. Have a look, the code SOAR, and you can use that one as well. Maybe you didn't want the signed book, but you will be able to redeem this special discount. Don't forget that this is going to be available on the chat. It's just right there. And thank you once again, everybody. We hope you enjoy a lot of this session. Omar and Aaron, it's always great to know about you, and you're totally right. You can talk a lot about different topics, and we can learn always a lot from you. You know a lot.
Thank you. Glad to.
Thank you, guys.
Or we have you fooled.
You have. So the recording of this presentation and slides are going to be available on Cisco community, just at the event page for you just to register for this event. Once again, thank you to everyone and also to the community team that's helping us out to make everything happen. Congratulations to Gus and to Robert, and we will be contacting you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.